Okay, this will be sort of a mix of a review between cloth and a few other changes from 1.1. A main one would be healing aura being moved over to cloth, and then mischievous link being in effect. You link to a target. If they run out of range, they take damage. The link's about this far, so I mean it's pretty much blink range, so it's an extra nuke. I don't think anyone would ever use it on Robe. Honestly, it feels like a wasted skill slot. And, I mean, Robe's already just stupidly powerful as is, so it's not really going to affect it much unless you were using Healing Aura to dispel HOTS. Cloth Armor. This one's going to be sort of a long thing, so we're going to try and keep it short, but I highly doubt it. So, 1, Cloth has the lowest health by 50 less than Robe, so that is a minus 200 health statistic versus 150 on Robe, so, you know, basically like minus 400 compared to, say, Splint Mail. When you go over to energy, it has the most at 300, which, yeah, it's 75 more than Robe, so that's pretty handy, but at the same time seems unnecessary. That's like a crazy amount of energy, but I guess since it doesn't have any mechanics to regen its energy exactly, it probably has one of the more problematic spending in terms of abilities, because it will be an active support role, so energy management will be an issue. Determination, it's tied with Splint Mail, seems kind of weird, but whatever, that's their choice. The run speed is minus 30, so it's pretty much in the same category as Splint Mail. I don't see how you would have Splint Mail and Cloth Armor both have the same movement speed, but again, whatever. And then we also have the ability speed. It has actually the lowest ability speed of minus 200, which, you know, basically makes it minus 400 compared to Splint Mail. So, I mean, you are going to be casting 20% slower versus, say, Leather's 5% slower or Robe's 15% slower, so that's pretty low. And then cooldown speed is minus 50. That makes it the second lowest. Splint Mail is a minus 100. Leather, I think, is 25. Yeah. And then Robe is 75, so I mean, pretty considerable numbers there. 75 less cooldown speed than Leather, and obviously 125 less cooldown speed than Robe, so that's kind of sad, especially for this armor type. Then, of course, the physical resistance is 100, so I mean, it's a little better than Robe in that regard, but then it has 200 mental resistance, which doesn't really tie in well, in my opinion. I don't see why it does. No other armor does, and there's not enough mental damage in the game to warrant the extra 100, and probably could have been spread out among the other stats to be a little more balanced, I would say. For example, the movement speed shouldn't be as bad. I understand it is a healer and it will be focused, but it probably shouldn't have less health than a more offensive line such as Robe. I would probably say, you know, maybe it should only have minus 100 health, so it's a little less than Leather, but a little more than Robe, because, I mean, it doesn't have any real built-in escapes other than the silence. That's pretty much it. Like, you have a silence and you have another CC that hits you with a mesmerize that hits you and everyone else, so you can't escape with that, so you pretty much just have guarding silence. It's actually very, very, very strong, which I went over in the cloth video, but still. All in all, the stats are the main issue, other than, obviously, as I said, the speed, the health kind of seems silly. The energy, not really much of an issue. Determination probably shouldn't be that high. That should really be Splint Mail's focus there. I don't see why it would have as much CC immunity as someone in Splint Mail, but it does. And then I guess the ability and cooldown speed seems fairly unfair to hit it so hard with a cast speed reduction and a cooldown speed reduction to such a high degree. Cooldown definitely should be higher, and cast speed, I feel, should be more in line with Robe. But all in all, the stats are going to make this armor, I would say, overpowered in a sense. If you watch the cloth video, I'm just going to go over the really broken abilities. Guarding Silence, Cleansing Reversal. I would say Reversal of Fortune, but that one's really situational because it's stun, sleep, silence. So I mean that works as intended. It's good for clearing hard CC. So Cleansing Reversal, Guarding Silence, Empowering Link, Shattering Link, and that's pretty much it. We're going to leave that one alone. We might actually include Heal as one. So basically what this is going to do, which I'm going to go ahead and slot these really quick because they are just that powerful. So I'm going to explain how this works. So say I had these abilities all leveled up to level 20. So Shattering Link would do a 30 damage reduction flat versus 10. So you know I can link to as many targets as I want. Same with if I go with the Empowering Link, which increases damage dealt by my allies up to 30% at level 20. So, you know, you're reducing damage by a flat amount, supposedly by 30, but as I showed in the video, you know, it was 9 at rank 1, well, rank 0, I should say, and it goes up to 30, so we'll say at maximum it probably does 27. But, I mean, if you consider that fact, you know, I do 9 more damage without that on it. And then after that, I'm going to do yet another 18 less damage. This is going to be absolutely broken and probably needs to be completely rethought because this is stupidly powerful because it gives you a resistance buff and your ally to a flat amount, and resistances will still come into play, so this easily is probably its best source of damage mitigation. And probably the best damage mitigation in the game, period. Just because of how it works and how much resistance you can actually stack. So that's stupidly strong. Then, of course, Empowering Link, you know, 10% to 30% damage increase. There is a slow tie to it, so there is that. But at the same time, I don't know if this is a constant effect. And if it can be cleansed by a Spear and Shield, I'll have to post that later if it is. If that is the case, then probably should consider maybe not putting this in game, I would personally say, because of the fact that every 3 people you're getting almost an extra person in terms of damage. That just seems really special. I'd understand, like, you know, like, okay, for a short duration and a decently long cooldown, you buff targets around you so they do more damage, and maybe remove the slow amount. And I wouldn't say it should buff the user, but it should buff everyone else, which is something it can do, because that's how Cleansing Reversal and Reversal of Fortune work. I think it is Reversal of Fortune, but anyways. Empowering Link, definitely one of those abilities I feel will probably get to an overpowered status, especially if you can cleanse that slow. Like, it's probably second tier to Shattering Link. Shattering Link is definitely one that is absolutely disgusting. It's way too much damage reduction even at rank 1, let alone pushing upper ranks of, you know, level 10 to level 20 to where you're just reducing any and all damage that can probably be dealt. Because again, it's a flat damage reduction. And when you put resist into that, when you go ahead and throw in Revitalize, which it will stack, as you can see, they will stack with one another. You know, 1 damage. I mean, that will be a thing. We will see 1 damage. That will be a thing with, you know, say Revitalize plus Shattering Link. That's a crazy amount of damage mitigation. But of course you need a target to link to, so, I mean, solo it won't be powerful, but in groups it will be disgusting. Then we're going to go on to the Cleansing Reversal, which this is pretty easy to explain. I'm going to run out of range to remove my links really quick. So basically, if I put suppression on this target and I go ahead and I use Gravity Well just as an example, so I throw this, I throw this, and then I go ahead and go for the cleanse. It'll dispel the damage debuff from suppression, and it'll remove the damage over time effect and the energy dot from Gravity Well. It will not remove slows, and it will not remove roots, which is actually pretty good. I like that fact. But at the same time, that means it will dispel all debuffs from the Lobby zone from being able to hit you. So, not you itself. Like, if you're using the cloth armor, I should have rephrased that better. If you use cloth armor and you hit that, it's going to be able to cleanse everyone that you wanted to in that area of the damage debuff, the healing output, the healing received, and the damage received can all be cleansed every, like, 12, 13 seconds, less than that if you have it even higher than that. So it's pretty stupid, to say the very least. And then, of course, heal is one. I already went over it in another video, but it has, about 3 times the radius of sacrifice self. It doesn't take your health. It heals your health. And if you hit 7 targets, you'll be able to regen all the energy at level 20. So it'll essentially become a free heal, very low cast time. So it's pretty significant there. So all in all, if you consider the benefits here, especially from the flat damage reductions from Shattering Link, the fact that Guardian Silence is actually basically, silencing field, but a flat out better ability because you actually can use it as a hard CC because it's a 5 to 10 second silence. I haven't leveled it yet, but I mean, it's already 5 seconds at level 1. I'm going to assume, that typo with them going, oh, it's a mesmerize. No, it's a fucking silence for 5 to 10 seconds. That is way too long, and that should have been under Splint Mail, not under fucking Cloth. This should not be an ability under Cloth. Maybe the AoE mesmerize at point blank at a decently large radius if it didn't hit the caster itself. Okay, I can understand that, but not guarding silence. So pretty much, Shattering Link easily rivals Meat Shield and doesn't give you a debuff, and you get the benefit yourself. So you immediately beat Meat Shield out right there for Splint Mail. If you consider the other abilities you get on Splint Mail, like, ooh, you have Ignore Pain, that's cute, but damage over time effects will still go through it. And I mean, you also get an AoE cleanse for your team. You also get a better group heal for your team, which also heals you. So, I mean, Sacrifice Self is pretty much out until you actually level it up enough to be a little more competitive in that aspect, especially since the radius of Sacrifice Self does not seem to go up either. You could probably argue some of these other abilities, but I mean, Meat Shield, Sacrifice Self, easily outplayed. Barge then becomes the only ability that becomes impressive. Well, I guess you could do Juggernaut. I haven't gotten it to level 20 yet, but, I will test it later to see if it actually does it, since in my other video it was only level 10. But we can go ahead and test that later. But needless to say, Cloth Armor, yeah, it has less health, yeah, it has a lot of energy, yeah, it might have some energy management issues, but it is a better support armor. It has actual good healing. It has some abilities that are absolutely broken in most regards or will lead to lobby griefing to an extreme degree. So, all in all, good concept, but definitely needs a heavy redesign in almost every regard. The other things I might want to cover, I think, what was it, the party system? I think that's pretty much, yeah. The other thing would be the party system. You'll notice there is a party tab here. You are not in a party. This does not have voice chat, but, I mean, I might do that in another video, but it's not really a big deal. So, all in all, we're looking at 13 minutes so far. As I said, Cloth Armor, superior to Splint Mail other than pretty much just the raw HP, a toggled immunity, and Barge. That's it. Like, yeah, you might say the resistance, but I'm sorry, 10% damage mitigation isn't going to compare to 10 to 30 flat damage removed out of the equation at all times to all allies around you. It doesn't compare. And then, as I said, heal is 1. It's a better heal than self-sacrifice if you're looking at the long run. It has a lower cooldown, it can be refunded on energy, it also heals you. The only downside to it is you are rooted in place, but it doesn't matter, because when you're using this ability, the cast time is diddly shit. It's like, oh, done, and you just don't care. It's just a very solid heal. Selfish healing probably needs a huge nerf as well. Because honestly, like, you know, boom. It has a long cast time, but that's because of the fact Robe has such a huge debuff to its casting time. As you can see, the cast time does not go down with levels, so that's a good thing. But I mean, it's essentially a free heal, but I don't know. It doesn't make any sense. I don't feel like that ability should be a thing. I mean, I guess it can be. It's more so annoying on, say, fighting NPCs, but I guess when you level to 20 is when it's going to seem a little more ridiculous because it's going to go up to 338. I mean, if you can mod your stats to the point where you can actually cast that much faster, which you can easily mod your statistics to be able to get another, like, 16, 18% cooldown reduction if you wanted to. That's definitely within the realm of possibility. So all in all, Cloth will replace Splint Mail unless you pretty much are betting on Ignore Pain, Barge, and maybe Juggernaut in that regard, and very situational Rock Form. Because if you're fighting a staff user, you're probably not going to want to use Rock Form. It's not going to be comparable. It's really not. So, definitely needs a lot of work. Definitely needs to be considered in balance aspects. It just, right now, it definitely takes the cake on a support armor, which is the only thing Splint Mail had going for it. And it has the hardest crowd control in the game right now in terms of just not giving a fuck. This is the hugest form of damage mitigation in the game. Just, no. This should be under Splint Mail, not under Cloth, but that's enough of a rant. That's pretty much it for 1.1, at least for Cloth. And I'm having trouble doing that. There we go.